What happens to a person's brain when they are in a coma? Is it true that these patients can hear and understand everything? What is cyclic awakening? And what did the woman who spent 27 years in a coma reveal? Munira Abdul, a resident of the United Arab Emirates, woke up after a long coma. In 1991, her car collided with a school bus. Munira shielded a child, sustained multiple injuries, and lost consciousness. The first words she spoke upon waking up 27 years later were her son's name. Doctors concluded that the woman is now completely healthy and only requires physical therapy to restore her motor functions. Statistics show that 230,000 people in Europe fall into a coma annually. Experts claim that this condition is always preceded by some form of trauma, whether physical or psychological. In most cases, doctors support the patient's life until the very end. However, even the most experienced medical professionals do not fully understand what happens to the brain during a coma. The human body hangs between life and death. At this moment, their breathing may change for the worse, their pulse slows down, and vegetative reactions are absent. On average, a coma lasts for 12 months. After this period, the person either gradually regains consciousness and becomes more functional, or they transition into a vegetative state. This state is referred to as a gray zone. If the individual regains some awareness but is unable to respond in a typical manner, meaning they lack speech and do not react to external stimuli. A person in a coma can still fall asleep and wake up. Certain brain areas responsible for memory may still function. Tears may flow or limbs may move. Some time ago, doctors began to question whether communication with a person in this state was possible. The first patient from the gray zone with whom doctors successfully communicated was Scott Routley. At the time, he had been in a coma for almost 10 years. Electroencephalographic studies were conducted and brain activity was assessed during communication with him. When a certain level of communication was detected, doctors observed the brain's reaction to neural activity and saw that he responded in a specific way to this interaction. This has shown that approximately half of the patients in a coma are capable of communicating in some form or another. Doctors now assert that establishing communication with comatose individuals is one of the primary goals, alongside maintaining their physiological functions. Statistics indicate that approximately 30 to 40% of patients are conscious to some degree, which is why communication with them can be crucial for their recovery. I believe the key lies in learning how to establish communication with people in such states, exploring ways to connect with them, and treating them with the utmost care, even if they appear to be asleep or unconscious. There are many known cases where people, upon fully waking from a coma, suddenly discover new abilities. For instance, Tommy McHugh, an Englishman who had worked as a laborer on construction sites and spent his evenings at the local pub, suffered a stroke at the age of 51 and spent a week in a coma. Upon waking up, he discovered a passion for drawing. There are clinical examples of individuals who, upon emerging from a coma, experience changes in their consciousness, behavior, or activity. Some people gain proficiency in musical instruments, which is well documented. Others who had poor language skills suddenly remember and start speaking fluently in those languages. Ben McMahon, an Australian, miraculously survived a car accident and spent a week in a coma. Upon waking up, he began speaking Chinese, a language he had never studied before. He now lives in Shanghai, attends university there, and has no plans to return to his homeland. Experts explain this phenomenon by the activation of certain brain regions, while others remain suppressed. There was an interesting case involving an 81-year-old grandfather. He fell from a tree at his dacha while harvesting, lost consciousness, and fell into a coma. 4 days later, he regained consciousness and became sexually preoccupied. At 81 years old, he started pursuing young women who could have been his granddaughters or even great-granddaughters. Martin Pistorius spent 12 years unconscious, a state that doctors referred to as wakeful coma. He was in a vegetative state until, unexpectedly, he began to recover at the age of 25. Martin learned to use a special computer program that allowed him to communicate. There was some force within me. Something kept pushing me to keep fighting. I don't know what it was. Even in moments when I wanted to give up, it made me gather my strength and keep going. After a long period of rehabilitation, Martin managed to graduate from college, find a job, and even get married. The longer doctors study the borderline state between life and death, the more questions they have. One of the most challenging questions is whether it is appropriate to decide for the patient, continuing their treatment or disconnecting them from life support machines and allowing their brain to die permanently. What do you think about it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your opinion is very important to me. Don't forget to give me a like if you liked it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new episodes. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.